Now been joined by Chase Elliott, driver of the number 24 Kelley Blue Book Chevrolet this weekend to kick off our media availabilities for this Friday. Before we roll into our traditional Q&A, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Andrew Nicolai from Kelley Blue Book, who is going to give us a little more information on Chase's partnership to protect distracted driving this month.
All right, thank you everyone for your attention this morning. So Andrew Nicolai here with Kelley Blue Book, here to talk about distracted driving. Distracted driving has become and continues to be a really serious issue on our roadways, regardless of the consequences that people know about. People continue to do it. They don't put down their phones. So Kelley Blue Book, you may know them for them as a used car resource. You may know them as a new car resource when you're looking to purchase a vehicle or sell your vehicle. But safety is also a major pillar of Kelley Blue Books. And we thought this month, being Distracted Driving Awareness Month, we needed to get involved to raise awareness for the dangers of distracted driving. So what we did was we executed a survey. We found out that nothing really new, but again, as I mentioned, the consequences, whether that's death or a ticket, or a traffic accident, people are still using their phones, and that's an issue. And distracted driving is more than just cell phone use. It's anything really that takes your eyes off the road. So what we've done is we've partnered with Chase. Obviously, he's our driver. He's going to be piloting our number 24 Kelley Blue Book Chevrolet SS this weekend. We're excited about that, but we also wanted to really use this as an opportunity to deliver a PSA to everyone out there and really spread the awareness. So we have a video that's going to be launching online, but we'll go ahead and play the audio of Chase's PSA.
Hey, I'm Chase Elliott, driver the number 24 Kelley Blue Book Chevrolet SS. Distracted driving is the #1 killer of teens in America. However, this is a problem that goes beyond teens and beyond cell phone use. A distraction is anything that causes you to take your eyes and focus off of the road, texting, eating, even applying makeup. Driving is a skill that requires your full attention. Join me, Kelley Blue Book, and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to end distracted driving. Stopping distracted driving starts with you. So
powerful stuff, obviously with any time you kind of are on the road and you see a traffic accident, the immediate thought that comes in my head is that that person was on their phone or eating in the car or doing something like that. So we want to thank Chase. We want to thank Hendrick Motorsports for being involved with this program. I'm going to turn it over to Chase for a few questions. I'm going to ask him a few questions, especially being a 20-year-old driver himself. He's got a unique perspective on distracted driving. I mean, one of the main statistics that are out there is that the number of deaths that are out there for teens outweighs everyone else when it comes to distracted driving. So Chase, obviously, this is something that we decided to partner with you on for multiple reasons. You're our driver, but also, again, it makes sense that you're 20 years old and you probably have a younger audience that's paying attention to you. Can you tell us a little bit about what this issue kind of means for you?
Yeah, I think it's an issue that means a lot for everyone, and as you said, I think distracted driving goes far beyond just being on your cell phone. Obviously, I think that's the most common one that everyone's guilty of, but definitely a unique perspective. I think for me, being kind of out of high school a couple years ago, and kind of seeing a lot of things that goes on amongst a lot of people my age and even much younger. So. It's a very important issue and something that doesn't need to get overlooked. And safety on the roads is something that we're all a part of each and every day of the week. So it impacts all of us, and I think everyone being aware of it certainly go a long way.
And distracted driving is not only something that affects the driver. It's a responsibility for the passenger in the vehicle. It's a responsibility for parents. It's a responsibility for friends to kind of remind them, especially when they're in the vehicle, that they don't feel safe, and whether they're going down the street or they're on a road trip. So, Chase, how can people get involved? Is there anything that you'd recommend beyond just putting the phone down for them to get involved in this?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of it, people riding in or passengers, I think that's their job to say, hey, put your phone down or whatever it may be to make sure your focus is on the road, because it's one thing for you to be responsible for yourself, but if you get someone else injured, that certainly is not at all what you're looking for, and is far beyond just yourself. It can impact other people's lives. So I think we have a great tool in social media to help spread that, and I think just being aware of it and spreading it through all of those avenues through social media, I think can get it going really fast.
Yep. And then the last thing, it's not obviously the same. It's not a similar thing, but can you tell us a little bit about the emphasis that you put on focus when you're driving on the track, right? I mean, it's not the same as when you're driving, but on the road. But is there any kind of similarities there with how much you need to focus on the road there?
Yeah, I think there are similarities, and in anything you do, flying, driving, racing, I think your focus definitely has to be there 110%. And and a simple mistake and something that you might not think anything about can impact your life and someone else's. And as I said, that's what none of us are looking for. So it's our decisions as to what we do when we're driving down the road, and I think keeping in mind that our decisions can impact others and ourselves in very, very bad ways is something you have to think about and definitely continue to be aware of.
And then last thing, any other thoughts? This is your first year as a driver for the Kelley Blue Book team. Obviously, you're going to be piloting our car this weekend. Any additional thoughts on the partnership overall?
Yeah, absolutely. Very excited, and I appreciate you guys coming on board and allowing me to drive your car first off. But it's been a great partnership to this point. Obviously, this is our first race together, so that's exciting, and I think our car looks good. And it's a great opportunity to raise awareness for some of the issues that we face driving up and down the road. So, we're excited about this weekend. Hopefully, we can try to have a good run and have our partnership start off the right way.
Excellent. Yeah, great finish by Chase last weekend, and we're excited to get him in the car this weekend. Wish him the best of luck. The other thing that we wanted to let you guys know about is Kelley Blue Book's partnered up with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to really urge people to take a pledge for distracted driving. We have that pledge available on kelleybluebook.com. You can also go to distraction.gov and take this pledge. But again, it's as simple as really just pledging to yourself that you will not that you'll drive hands-free and distraction-free. So thank you for your time today. I'm going to turn it over to the other part of Chase's Q&A, but really appreciate everyone being here this morning.
Absolutely, I appreciate your time, and I have taken the pledge, so I encourage everyone to go do that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Right, we'll go ahead and roll into our traditional Q&A. Chase, to kick things off this morning, you'll be making your first NASCAR Sprint Cup Series start here at Bristol Motor Speedway, but in 4 previous NASCAR Xfinity Series starts, you definitely always finish in the top 10. So you've had some good runs here. Talk a little bit about the anticipation of coming here in the Cup car for the first time.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's what a cool place Bristol is. A track I've always enjoyed coming to watch as a fan, and one that I certainly never wanted to miss watching at home. So very, very neat to be here and be a part of the Cup race this weekend. We've had some good runs, some not so good runs on the Xfinity side, and we ran a truck race here, and I think a Pro Cup race here. So been fortunate enough to race here a handful of times over the past, I guess, 4 or 5 years, and hopefully we can take a little bit of that knowledge that we've gathered over those races and try to apply it this weekend.
All right, we'll go ahead and take questions now. If you have one, please raise your hand and state your name and affiliation, and we'll start up front with Mike Hembry.
Mike Hembry, USA Today. Chase, a handful of races in now. How do things stand with you as compared to what you might have expected at this point, and what's sort of been the biggest surprise to you so far?
Yeah, I think, for me, I still look at, a lot of areas for improvement, and we've had our ups and downs for sure, and we're still working through things and trying to get better. We're still getting used to each other and things along those lines. But, the relationship's been good. I think I have a great group of guys around me. There's certainly a great group. They've been great to me at the racetrack when we're working on the cars, going throughout practice or away from the racetrack. building some of those friendships has been great as well. But definitely, there's been lots of surprises. It's hard to nail down one. I would say, I'm trying to think of one that really jumped out at me, but as you go along throughout each weekend, I think one thing is these races are so long and so much can happen throughout a race. Whether no matter how you start, I think, you have so much time to try to work on your car and make it better throughout the day, whereas in races in the past, you might not necessarily have had that time to work on your car as long. So it seems like in these cup races, if you're off a little bit in the beginning, it's obviously not good, but it's also not the end of the world, and you kind of work through that stuff and try to keep clawing through it and hope that you can find the balance at some point.
All right, we're going to go to Jeff, and then we'll come back. Go ahead.
Jeff Birchfield, Johnson City Press. Chase, just what was your very first memory of coming here to Bristol as a kid with your dad? And then second off, I know it's more for the fans, but what do you think of Colossus?
Yeah, it's a really cool place, and what a cool atmosphere. I didn't realize how big that thing was until I got here a minute ago. It's definitely I bet it was a project getting that big speaker in, so that's pretty cool, and I think hopefully offer some good views and information for the fans sitting around the racetrack. So like I said, cool place. My first memory coming here, I always remember this being such a tough race, coming to watch my dad run. I remember him getting out of the car here and just being so worn out, so dehydrated and hot, and this race took such a physical toll on him. And I remember a lot of guys. I can remember guys getting out of the cars here and having to have oxygen, after the races to try to, get feeling better. So those are kind of my first memories. That was really stood out in my mind. Every time I came to Bristol, I knew he was going to be wore out. And obviously, as a little kid, that wasn't the most, comforting feeling, knowing that your dad was not, was going to run this race and not be feeling good after. So that was kind of my first memories coming here, but always such a cool place. He loved coming here. Enjoyed coming to watch. I loved watching the races. That I remember that specifically. Just how much of a physical toll it took on him.
All right, we're going to go Dustin Long, Kelly Crandall, and then Alan next. Go ahead, Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Kind of in relation to what you were talking about with your dad. I know you got thrown to the fire a little bit last year with 500 laps at Martinsville, 600 miles in Charlotte, and the Southern 500, but you've just completed a stretch where you run 3 500-milers this year. You got 500 laps Sunday. You look like you've gotten bigger. Your upper bodies kind of look like you've gotten bigger. How much emphasis have you had to put on conditioning, working out with these extra long races so that you feel good so you can make the right decisions late in a race? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. I do think it is important, and as you run these races, they're so long, and obviously you want to try to give it your all throughout the race, but the most important part, as you touched on, is the end of the race and trying to be around at the end and give yourself a chance. And if you're not physically, both physically and mentally there, and they're 110% at lap 500 mile or whatever, however long the race might be, you're not doing anybody any favors, and that's not fair, to your group. But I try to focus on a lot of cardio stuff away from the racetrack, and I've been getting more involved in mountain biking and that sort of thing over the past month, I would say. So I've been enjoying that, and I definitely think it helps. To me, if nothing else, it makes you feel better. And anytime you can feel better, no matter what you're doing, I think that is an improvement. If you can go somewhere and feel better when you get there, mentally, physically, across the board, I think that's a good thing. But the conditioning in the race car, I think just running these races is conditioning in itself. And the more you do it, certainly, I think that the more your body will get used to what it takes to run these races and how you feel when you get towards the end.
Did you have any type of wake-up call to Martinsville or just Charlotte last year that you ran the full distance there in that race?
Yeah, Charlotte was definitely a long race, and I had thought about it so much as to just how long that race was before I kind of talked myself into thinking it wasn't as bad as I was thinking it was going to be when we got going. So that race, to me, I don't know if it was just I was expecting it to be so long that it didn't feel like a 600 mile, or it kind of felt like a normal 500 mile race. So this year, I would say the longest race that to me felt longer than the Coke 600 last year was probably Fontana. That seemed like a long race that day for whatever reason. But I guess it's just perspective and how you look at your race day and how things are going too. That makes a big difference.
All right, Kelly, if we can get our microphone over to Kelly, please, here in the middle.
Kelly Crandall from PopularSpeed.com. Chase, I spoke to Eddie earlier this morning about how the relationship between you two is going. He feels it's been really good. You've kind of just been fine-tuning on things since Daytona. Are you comfortable with him being in your ear? Do you like the information that he's been giving you, or kind of where do you stand on having a new spotter in your ear this year?
Yeah, I think our relationship's definitely grown, and we've we've both been making tweaks throughout the year. Certainly, had a lot of conversation at Daytona. That's such an interesting place to start from a driver and spotter's relationship. From that perspective is interesting because so much conversations going back and forth between him and I, and the way the lanes move back and forth, that becomes such a trusting situation. So for me, I do think my trust level has grown a lot since then. We've made small adjustments here and there of things I like and don't like, and I feel like we've got to a pretty good spot where we're both comfortable with each other and the information that's going back and forth. So I feel good about it now, and I don't really have any issues.
All right. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to fit everyone in our time with Chase, but we're going to take Alan and then our last question here. Go ahead, and then Alan. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Tucker White, SpeedwayMedia.com. Now, Chase, the short tracks typically aren't the most aero-sensitive tracks, but at Martinsville, a number of drivers said that the low downforce package was making their cars a lot looser to drive. What can we expect to see its effect, if any, at Bristol?
Yeah, I think you might see some differences. I don't know. As you said, you're not being a half-mile racetrack. I'm not sure just how much it'll play a role. Looking back to Martinsville, I do think, on the braking side of things, you didn't have as much downforce and as much drag helping you get stopped. Whereas here you have a lot of the banking to catch you, so I don't know that you'll see a big difference in that this weekend.
So you don't think we'll be seeing cars not running the top? Will it affect any cars trying to run the top lane?
I think you're going to see cars wherever the grip is. So if the grip's up top, that's where you're going to see them, and if it's around the bottom, that's where it's going to be. But the way the races have gone here the past few years, I'm sure maybe not today or tomorrow, but definitely Sunday. And I would expect by tomorrow afternoon you'll see everybody up top.
All right.
If I had to guess.
Alan, go ahead.
Probably wrong.
Chase, Alan Cavana, Fox Sports 1. When you come to these tracks for the first time in a Cup car, is there kind of a routine the first time you hit the track? Do you take it easy the first few laps? Is it difficult for you? How do you do that when you come to these tracks?
Yeah, I don't know that I have a routine necessarily any different than I would approach it if I was coming back for the second time, other than maybe just having some more notes to lean back on. I still look at a lot of my notes that I've gathered over the past couple of years on the Xfinity side. So I look at things there and just try to apply it from a racetrack's perspective, not so much the car, and just kind of some of the things that you saw throughout the race or how things moved around, what you thought moving around did for your car. I think that still applies. So I try to take some of that stuff and just keep it in mind as you roll into the weekend. It's definitely not easy, and certainly is some differences as you come in. These cars have more horsepower, and you're going a little faster, so that does change characteristics of how the cars are driving and maybe what exactly you're looking for throughout practice, different more than an Xfinity car. So. But I think the biggest thing is just kind of looking back on the notes you've gathered, even if it's not in the same race car, at least you still have some to look back on from these racetracks.
Chase, we wish you the best of luck this weekend, and thank you for your time today.
Yep. Thanks, guys.